Hey guys, Mike with Old Iron. Want to give you an update on my headache. Purple Haze. We did a little bit of work to it yesterday, and I'm going to take you out the tripod and show you exactly what's going on. Now, I've made kind of an executive decision. Everything that's been touched or modified by somebody else is coming out of this damn car before I touch it anymore. And I'll take you around and I'll kind of show you why. I'd rather start from absolute scratch than try to straighten out some of the dumb fuckery that's been done to this car. So let me get you off the tripod and we'll show you what's going on. First off, motor placement issue. Okay. Now, you can see right there, they stretched the frame. All right, I started cleaning it up. The welds need to be fixed, cleaned up, straightened up. They didn't do anything, they didn't weld anything on the bottom. They just did the tops and the sides. So it all needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be straightened out. They just stacked weld on top of weld on top of weld on top of weld. It was about 3/4 of an inch thick and probably about that tall going down all the seams. But when they stretched the frame, they stretched the frame because they dropped the front end of this car down probably about 9 inches lower than what it is now. I mean, the bottom rocker piece there was probably about 4 inches below the frame. I mean, they just slammed the crap out of this thing, and didn't do it right. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, with them stretching the frame, you've got the cross member dilemma. Because if the frame wasn't stretched, I could actually mount the motor right here on the cross member. Maybe bump it out a couple inches in the front for the grill support. I probably wouldn't even have to do that, and I'd be fine. You know, everything would have clearance, blah, blah, blah. The issue is, if I put it up here, my trans is about half to 3/4 of the way out of where the firewall is going to be, and I just don't like that look. All right, second off, there. These are the mounts they welded in, and they didn't even weld them in well. They're basically spot welded in. Okay, here's your bracket for your lower A-arm, and then you had this little area in between here and your cross member, which was my original idea of coming off of that and coming up. But I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to move it back a little bit, and we're going to take this one out, you know, but we're going to build a bracket over this mount, not attached to this mount, but kind of up, over, and down. I don't know yet. It's just, I'm kind of spitballing it still, and that would move the motor back a little bit, and I think it would give me the clearance to drop it down a little bit to clear the harmonic balancer and the front pulley on the motor. I'm not 100% sure yet. I got to play with it. So I'm still going back and forth on this, trying to spitball this idea. But I kind of like it the way it's sitting right now, which I have the clearance on my harmonic balancer and my front pulley off the cross member. And it'll also give me more room in between the lake pipe and the frame to run my steering. So if I drop the motor down, I'm going to have clearance issues trying to run the lake pipes if I want to use the lake pipes. Otherwise, I got to go with some different headers or different exhaust, which I don't want to do. Now, this is a good example. Let me get in here like this. That's the back pan and the beginning of the floor. You can tell there's absolutely nothing underneath there. Okay, that's why it's all coming out. Now, see that L bracket right there? And there's one over there. There's one here, and there was one here. And then there was one on the front A-pillars. And what they were is That right there, okay? One bolt. Some of them have 2 bolts. Most of them have 1. And 1 bolt went to the body, 1 bolt went to the frame. That was their mounts, okay? Now, in all honesty, in my eye, it could have worked if they would have tied it into some substructure for the floor. I can't even talk. It's like 8:30 in the morning. But they didn't. They just, it was bolted right there. It was bolted to the frame. So you can see, I brought this body up probably about 6 inches on the B-pillar, you know what I mean? And probably about 9 inches up here because they just had it raked ungodly. So when they cut the bottom of the car off, I'm hoping it was because it wasn't there. It was just rotted. They took all the lower supports out of the doors. I mean, there is nothing on the bottom of that door. All right. Now, they quote unquote welded the door shut. Okay. Now I thought they welded the door shut solid. They didn't. They welded them here. So when I took off that inner metal panel, there was a blue panel that went across there and tied into the floor. And when I removed that, the body dropped. So I'm going to spend the better part of later on this afternoon. I got a doctor's appointment, and after that I'm going to come back here and start working on it. Straightening out the body, because when I took that panel off, the damn body dropped. Because I thought the door was done correctly. And you live and you learn. You know what I mean? I thought the doors were welded in, so I didn't think I had a problem. As soon as I took that panel off, it dropped right there. So I got to get that jacked back up. I've got to support it now and get everything lined back up and the body lines where they're supposed to be. Weld that door in solid because I'm not using the back doors anyway. I'm not going to go through the crap of unwelding them and setting them and all the other crap for a rat rod. I got to build some kind of lower support and inner structure on the lower part of those doors. I'm going to remove the rest of this. I'm removing the trunk. And the reason I'm doing it is everything that was touched before was not done right. Not even remotely right. There's not a weld on this car to where they actually prepped the metal before they welded it. They just burned through the paint and the rust and whatever. They didn't prep any metal before they welded anything. And everything they welded, they just spotted, and the spots were crap anyway. So it's all coming out. We're going to start from scratch. Now, once I get this out, I think what my game plan is we're going to build the floor structure, well, basically from the rear end to the firewall. Get that in, get everything supported, get the body on the floor structure, and then mount the floor structure to the frame and put our body mounts in and stuff like that. And then once I get that done, I can come back and I'll do the trunk. The trunk, when they did whatever they did to the trunk, they basically just welded a pan to the frame. And same with the wheel wells. The wheel wells are a mess. They got to be cut out and redone. And it's really starting to piss me off because I should have known better. Yeah, I do know better, but I didn't. And I was hoping this was going to be an easy run. And quite honestly, this is probably the hardest project I have right now. And I've got a lot of projects. But everything else, the dumbfuckery has been taken out of it. And I know exactly what I'm working with. This, I'm still coming across the dumbfuckery, if that makes any sense. So even tetanus, if you watch the video on tetanus is rough. You know, I bought that thing sight unseen at an auction for less than scrap. And I'm going to do something with it, hopefully, eventually. And it's rough. It was sitting in a field, you know, sitting in a muddy field. So I know the frames need to be, you know, I knew right off the bat it needed a new frame. All the floors need to be redone. All the floor structure needs to be redone. But it's never been touched, okay? compared to this, it's been touched, and the person or people or whatever, I really don't know who did it, but whoever touched it shouldn't have. They need to set down the welder, they need to lock the toolbox and just walk away. So I'll show you what's going on with the trunk, what you can see. And they just tacked this. You can see the tacks. They just tacked it to this dirty ass metal. And, yeah, get her done. It'll work, you know. No floor, you know, no lower pan, no rockers all the way around the car. I got to build rockers all the way around this car. I got to put a lower pan in. So there is an ungodly amount of metal work that needs to be done for a damn rat rod. You know what I mean? Now, these beautiful wheel wells. Look at this crap. I haven't touched this. Look at this. Let's see. You got a tack kind of holding on, maybe right there, kind of one there. Yeah. Oh, don't trim the metal. Don't worry about that crap. You know. Came up short. Got to tack this one to that one and kind of bring it over like this. And we'll throw a couple tacks in here. And don't worry about this big ass gap here. That'll be fine. You know. And it comes in. And I'm pretty sure this right here is actually stock metal. And then, you know, let's not do anything and just kind of overlay another piece over that and bring it down. And I could just hang there. It'll be fine. It's like a mud flap, you know. And then this piece here, I did take out because it was tacked to the frame. You can see the tacks on the frame where they tacked the wheel well. So I took this off. And it was a gap all the way through here, all the way like that. There was probably a gap about like that. And the other side's really no better. Let's see if I can sneak by here. It's tight in here. Here, this one's absolutely been untouched. And you got a hole here. You got a piece they kind of threw in here. And then there's a hole here. And there's another piece here. Bad gaps. Just ugly tacks. And then you can see daylight all through here because nothing was welded. And then you got this extra piece here kind of hanging down like a mud flap. And that's some quality shit, ain't it? You know? So it's all coming out, man. I'm done. I am absolutely done with this thing. I'm starting from scratch. It's all coming out. I'd rather do it my way. And even if my way is not the right way or the way that you might do it, it's going to be better than this shit. But that's where we're at. And that's the cross member. That's probably the most solid thing that they've done on this vehicle. And they welded it in. All right. Now, to each their own. I'm not having a welded in trans cross member. Because if you got to drop the trans, you basically got to pull the motor to drop the damn trans. Because your frickin' cross member don't come out. So we're taking that out. And once we get the motor set up, we're going to build a bolt-in trans cross member. To where, you know, God forbid, you never know, you know, front seal goes out, whatever, you know. And you want to drop that trans, you can without pulling the motor. So, a lot of work, a lot more work than I actually wanted, but it is what it is. And the kicker is I got to get the floor in this to get that body down to roll it outside to do the clutch on my truck. So I'm going to work on this all week. You should see some update videos. It's hard to record while I'm doing it here in the wintertime because turbo heater's rutted. I got the radio out and stuff like that. But I'm going to try and I'll just kick it off. We'll do like an update. And I'm going to try to figure something out on that. Guys, that's where we're at. And I'll be out here hopefully a little later on this afternoon. And I'm going to try to get that metal out and get the body straightened out. And, well, honestly, I'm going to straighten out the body before I mess with any more of the metal. And you can see this side ain't horrible, but you can see where the gap is here. And then you come down, it gets wider and wider. So this side dropped a little too. But the other side, side's about the same, you know. And that's after I dropped it up, but it still needs to come in about a 1/4 inch on the bottom. So this actually needs to come up to close that gap. I need to get all that straightened out and get it tied together before I go any farther. And yeah, all they did is, I mean, the doors, I don't want to do this too much. All they did was set the door in place. They took the damn hinges off. Why they took the hinges off, I guess so it was flat. You know, they didn't want that bump. But all they did, and here's the quality welds I'm working with. Yeah, I mean, and they welded it here, and that's pretty much it. And it's my fault, 100% my fault. I should have took a better look at it and not assume, especially with everything else we've pulled off this vehicle that wasn't done right. I should not have assumed that these doors were welded in right. And it bit me in the ass. So I'm going to try to get back to a point this afternoon to where I can look at this thing without my stomach turning. So, I mean, you can see there's the bottom of the other door. And that door's the same way. I mean, I could damn near open the son of a bitch. You know what I mean? So, we're going to get that all taken care of. I'm not going to get everything well. I'm not going to get the supports and everything welded in today. But I'm hoping this afternoon I can get the gap straightened back up, get everything back matching, and at least tack these doors up and maybe put a few small supports on it to keep the body where it needs to be. But that's about it for right now, guys. Please like the video, subscribe if you want to follow along with this or any of the other 10 million projects I got going on. And we appreciate you guys, and we will see you soon.